Two other elements of your syllabus, not only because it's syllabus, it's also because of importance. One is the India and its neighborhood, because we already covered some of it already, but that's a separate subject in your syllabus, India and her neighbors. And strangely, this is not new, because when I took my examination in 1966, the essay question I had was India and her neighbors. So, general essay paper, and I wrote that paper. So it is still alive and well, because India's relationship with neighbors is very complex, very complicated, and lots of things to learn from it. And that is why this subject remains. So I'll quickly run over these things. The first and foremost, of course, when you talk about neighborhood, China is the major factor. Okay? And China is going to be our adversary, whatever we may do, for the next 40-50 years, till they become the dominant power in the world. They are very clear on that. They are not going to let anybody, not even United States, dominate them. So they have a grand design, and India does not figure in that. India is to be put down, is their policy, not to help or work together. And that we know very well. So the thing you have to remember is China will be an adversary, and they are 20 times more powerful than us. They are ahead in technology, they are ahead in nuclear power, they are ahead in rocket science, everything, and even growth rate. So there is no way in which we can conquer China or fight a war against it or anything like that. So we have no choices. What we can do is only simply managing this relationship. They have also interest in us. So it is not that they will not listen to you. There are certain things which we can do for them. But that is nothing compared to the damage that they can do to us. So they say, who is a friend in foreign policy? Somebody who can either help or harm. So China has the capacity to help us, they have the capacity to harm us. In our case, our capacity to help them or to harm them is very limited. So we are not equal in our relationship. This is what you have to know. So our policy towards China is not on the basis of our being able to capture them or conquer them, but to manage the relationship. Suppose you have a gunda in your next door house. You can never fight with him. So what do? Diwali, you send him some sweets. Onam, you invite him for a meal. That's how we are doing. We are just managing the gunda. That's what we are doing. And that's very well known to all of us. And China's own attitude, if India is dependent on them and not being get close to either Russia or United States, then they will not cause any trouble to you. But the moment they see that we are ganging up against them with anybody, then their life make miserable for us. That is why Dokalam happened, and that is because they felt that we are getting too close to the US. So this is the reason. But we talk to them a lot. In fact, the Prime Minister has met Xi Jinping more than anybody else in this world. Anywhere he goes, he talks to them, etc. But what they talk, we don't know. In Mamallapuram, they talked for 2 days. Still nothing happened, no? And he has the same face. Xi Jinping doesn't smile. He just walks around with him, looking at the trees. And so it's inscrutable. They cannot understand what they are thinking and what they are doing. And their latest, because forgetting the 1962 war, they were asked repeatedly after the war as to what was the objective of the 1962 war. The only explanation they have given is to teach India a lesson. Okay? This is their explanation. And what is that lesson? We are still figuring out what the lesson is. And they repeated it at the time of Dokala. When we were saying what the Chinese doing, why are they doing it? They said to teach India a lesson. So, what is the lesson? Lesson is very simple. That don't aspire to be the leader of Asia. Full stop. Because in the early days, till 62, India was the leader of Asia. That was the problem. So they want to put us down for permanently and settle it forever that we will not compete with China for dominance in Asia. This is it. Because their The strategy is to deal with the United States. They are very close to it. Another 4 or 5 years, they will overtake the United States. So India does not matter. India is just a nuisance for them. And so they don't give you any concessions. They stick to their guns. Nothing has been solved. In 1962, when the war happened, there was a list of grievances we had. And that list of grievances is growing every day, every year. And the old grievances still remain, new things are added to it. And there has been no solution for anything. And the most important thing is the border. Why are they not settling the border? They have settled the border with all other countries, including Bhutan. But India, not even a step has been taken. Because that gives them an advantage. They claim the whole of Arunachal Pradesh. They hold 40,000 square kilometers in the west, Aksai Chin area. And the border is not demarcated. So any time they want, they can walk into India and say this is China. And they have done that many times. Even when Xi Jinping was in Gujarat, sitting in a, rocking chair or whatever. And at that time the Chinese came into Indian territory. And so the Prime Minister asked him, what is happening? We are supposed to be enjoying Gujarati food. He said, I will find out. And then they went back. So this is just to give the thing that, yes, you may give me payasam and all that, but the position remains the same. Whenever we want, we'll come and deal with you. So, though the old war story is over, they keep saying that 62, forget about it, let us cooperate. There are certain things on which we agree. One is trade relationship. Because we are also developing country, they are also developing country. So we share that concern. The second is the environment. If something happens in India, it will damage China as much. Now, for example, this coronavirus, if it spreads, we are also going to be the victims. There's no question about it. The people are going all the time. 250 students held up in Wuhan. So what do you do with them? If you bring them back here, there's a big danger of it coming here. So far today, thank God, we don't have a case. But how close we are, and therefore we have an interest in environment, HIV, AIDS, all this. So in all these, we work together with them, particularly at the UN. And we forget about politics, forget about military, etc. So this is what is happening today. We have a constructive relationship on these aspects, but whatever we do to them, they don't make any change in the military or political situation. So we have to manage this relationship. There is no solution. We are still talking about the border. This is what 11th or 14th round, and they are not making any adjustments because they don't want to settle the border so that they can do whatever they want with the border whenever they want it. So that's all that you need to know about China. Do we have any solution? The trade, $85 billion trade we have, out of which $75 billion we are buying from them. So our trade balance is like this. What can you do? Can you stop all Chinese imports into India? There will be a revolt here. Everybody wants plastic buckets from China. That is the cheapest. Or that mosquito racket everybody buys. Because nowhere else can you buy it at that price. Because they are dumping it on us. Like the Hero pen. When we were students, everybody wanted a Hero pen, Chinese pen. And then they used to sell it in India and give the money to the Communist Party of India. And so we are all victims of that. So they use our market for their own conveniences, and we are not willing to sacrifice it. If tomorrow we say we will not buy anything from China, then $75 billion we'll save. But the public will not accept that. Wherever you go, there is a Chinese shop, right? All the buckets and so many things. So that is not a solution. We are trying to sell them more, but they don't buy anything from us. They say your goods are not good. Pharmaceuticals, we are much better than them, but they don't buy from us. So, and they make no concessions. So we made this in the time of the trade war between United States and China. We also imposed some tariffs, but that was a very small amount of things we export from us, so they cannot gain anything or lose anything. So that's it. There's nothing more to understand about China. Pakistan, of course, is a failing state in a sense. They cannot manage themselves, and the The way they are surviving is only because of hatred towards India. So for Pakistan, it is a matter of survival, that they must have India as an enemy. Otherwise, people say, why Pakistan? Isn't it? We are the same people. We are more Muslims than in Pakistan. You know that. We are the second largest Muslim country in the world. So how is Pakistan Muslim country then? So Pakistan can all come here, we can all go to Pakistan, there is no issue on that. Language. There are more Urdu speaking people in India than in Pakistan. So what is the identity of Pakistan? Fight with India. That's the only reason. Otherwise nobody in the world will care about them. But they have now nuclear weapons, and therefore the whole world is afraid that India and Pakistan will destroy the world. Because nowhere else in the world is there a possibility of a nuclear attack. But in India they still think that there is a nuclear scale that Americans maintain. And they always show India, Pakistan at the highest level of alert. Because they think that somebody will throw a bomb at the other person. And Pakistan keeps saying that we will use nuclear weapons. We don't, because we have what is called the non-first use. Because we have declared that we will not be the first to use nuclear weapons. Anyway, so there they will not solve any problem, because if they solve a problem, people will say, why don't you unite? You are the same fellows. And that's what they don't want to hear, because they want to protect their sovereignty. All other countries now are under the influence of China. China is giving goodies to everybody. Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Myanmar, all these countries are enjoying this new money, what is called silver bullet diplomacy. That means all the time they are only throwing silver at them, money at them, and so they are very happy. And they have all detached themselves from India, and they have attached themselves to China, and that's a reality. All of them are like that. But once in a while, change government. Now in Maldives, we have a friendly government. But even he, after 2-3 years, he'll realize that he'll get more benefits from China than from us, because we don't have that kind of money. Sri Lanka, makes noises, but they are also very much dependent on them. And that is where we have to think about what is called the BRI. You know that, no? Belt Road Initiative. It's a huge project by the Chinese. It is more than 150 billion US dollars worth. And this money is being dumped in all these countries as projects. And these projects are executed by the Chinese. All the money is spent by the Chinese, but it is shown as a loan to these countries. So in other words, Chinese are building what they need, like bridges and airports and shipping corporate, everything that the Chinese want, like the port they have built in Sri Lanka called Habantota. It is bigger than Sri Lanka itself. Sri Lanka will never need a port like that. But they have built that port in the name of Sri Lanka, and so Sri Lanka will get into a debt trap over the years. They will have all these useless things, and they owe money to the Chinese. So finally they have to give their country to the Chinese. They have no other option. And this is true about Pakistan. Pakistan got 40 billion US dollars on what is called Pakistan corridor. And that runs through Indian territory, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So our challenge today is to how to improve our relationship with our neighbors and to take them out of the grip of China. And so China is the dominant factor here. So we are trying again, we give small things to these countries because we cannot compete with China. We don't have the resources to do that. So our neighborhood is full of complications. We all have the same history, but each one of them has its own developments. And all the evils of the world are in South Asia. Drugs, big issue. Nuclear, big issue. Internal conflicts, big issue. International conflicts, big issue. So South Asia is in big trouble. And that is why we agreed to join SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Because every other region in the world has some kind of regional organization. We didn't have it for many, many years. Because of India and Pakistan. Mrs. Gandhi refused to join any organization with Pakistan. Because she knew that if he made an organization, then Pakistan will create trouble there, and then all these 7 will turn against India. And that's what finally happened. And now SAARC is gone. SAARC is dormant. We cannot have a meeting because Modi said, I will not go to a meeting with the Pakistanis. So that regional cooperation is gone. Now Nepal is trying to call a meeting because the rule is that all the 8 countries have to be there to hold a meeting. And if India doesn't go, or Pakistan doesn't go, the meeting cannot be held. So South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation is not active. But we are trying to develop other organizations in the process. And bilaterally we are trying to improve relations. Bangladesh, we have a fairly good relationship. Bhutan has been our best friend, but after Doklam, they have also become a bit worried because the Chinese actually started building the road on Bhutanese territory, not our territory. Okay, so strictly speaking, we had no business to intervene. But we have a treaty with Bhutan, according to which if Bhutan is in danger of external aggression, we are supposed to help. But they never asked us. Why? Because Bhutan feels that if India keeps out, they'll get a better deal from China. Because they have settled the whole border, Bhutan-China border, except this small place between India, China and Bhutan. And this Doklam is there. And the Chinese deliberately attacked there. They could have attacked the Indian territory. So to create trouble with India and Bhutan, they went and attacked Doklam, and then we went and resisted it. But even today, Bhutan has not said we asked India to help us. Because Bhutan clearly thinks that if India is involved, then they will not be able to solve their problem. I served in Bhutan. I know them very well. They are very fond of India, but they feel that if they stay with us too closely, the Chinese will destroy them. That is their fear. Nepal is already lost to us in the sense that the Maoists are in power after the royalty was abolished. Nepal has been more friendly with China than with us. There again we are playing the Hindu card. Modi dresses up like a saint when he goes there and pays money to the temple. But all these are fine, they accept it, but from behind they go to the Chinese and ask for more things. And terrorism is a huge issue in all these countries, financed by Pakistan, supported by China. So the neighborhood is never in peace, and Mr. Modi's first declaration was that neighborhood first. And that's why he called all of them to his swearing-in ceremony, remember? All of them came at the state level. But when he talked to them, they realized that each one has a complaint against India. He tried to solve with Pakistan, he went to Nawaz Sharif's daughter's wedding and all kinds of things, sent a sari to Nawaz Sharif's mother. You cannot solve problems like that. No? But Modi, when he became Prime Minister, he thought this is the way to manage relations. And now he hates them, he wants to declare war against Pakistan. So the foreign policy, as far as neighborhood is concerned, it is not Mr. Modi's fault, but that has been a big failure because of all these factors, particularly China and all the other complaints that they have against us. So all relationships with all of them politically are not bad because we have some linkages. Sri Lankans want to come for Buddha and the Maldivians want to go to some Muslim mosques, and so culturally they have some links with us. But certainly I think we have lost the battle in the neighborhood. And there is no solution, but we are still struggling with it. And that's why Mr. Modi shifted his emphasis on neighborhood and he turned to other countries and so on.